Good morning, Final Fantasy XIV, and welcome back to another lore video. I'm your host, Amadeus Aeon. And might I say how glad I am to have this series back up and running. It's been a while since we last visited, and that is due to no part of fault but my own. It's been, I say, a little bit difficult for me to maintain such long storytelling. What with my poor health condition that I have, so it can be kind of difficult to speak lengthy tones and such. But nonetheless, I will do my best this morning, and try to get through as much as possible. I hope that you all enjoy the lore and the story that I tell of my character here, Amadeus Aeon, and that you'll continue to keep watching and liking or subscribing. Without further ado, we shall jump right in to where we left off. Just to give sort of a recap, I guess, to start. When last we left the hero, myself, of course, in this tale, we had reunited with Y'shtola, informing her that Minfilia and the others that survived the onslaught of the Empire was taken away to an unknown castrum. And while I had fought to secure their freedom, Minfilia herself implored me to keep the light of hope alive and to work in unison with our remaining comrades to protect the realm from the Empire, as well as the primal threats that are surrounding Eorzea. I informed Y'shtola, however, that they are indeed still alive, our comrades. So, that in mind, she sought to go seek Ida and return to the Rising Stones, or, sorry, not the Rising Stones, getting way ahead in the future here. Sorry about that. I meant to say the Waking Sands, of course, where they will await and see if any of their other allies return. In the meantime, I had begun to work side by side with the Maelstrom and the Admiral to work together and kind of thwart some of the Empire's plans and learn more about where Minfilia may have been taken. So, our information gathered suggested that the Imperials were moving shipments across from Castrum Meridianum all the way to a castrum located near northern Thanalon, and that we should try and infiltrate Meridianum in eastern Lenosia to try and figure out if we can find any clues as to where our allies may have gone. Now, because this is an infiltration, we wanted to avoid drawing unnecessary attention and alerting the Imperials to our presence. So, they had me assigned to a special task unit, that being the Knights of the Barracuda, who specialize in stealth and covert operations. Using the skills I've learned from the Rogues Guild and from Jack, we were able to successfully maneuver ourselves throughout the castrum. We split up and began searching around for clues, being careful not to trip any wires or traps or any manner of security that would alert the enemy. While I was searching silently in the shadows, I heard a conversation from two off-duty Imperial soldiers, to which they started speaking about some sort of new weapon, which apparently would turn the tide of battle to their favor. This was rather disturbing news to hear. But they didn't mention anything on the whereabouts of Minfilia and the others that were taken. So I decided it was irrelevant to dwindle on this matter. As I searched the castrum further, I came across an armored Imperial, which could only be a high-ranking officer, from what I had assumed. I tailed this officer closely from behind, eventually coming to this metallic structure in the back recesses of the castrum. There I heard him making a report. Which in his report, of course, there was still nothing of relevance to Minfilia. However, a terminal left open was easily accessed by me after he had left the room. And there, from the terminal, I had learned that some prisoners, which seemed to match my comrade's description, were transferred to the Praetorium, which, as we already guessed, was a facility in northern Thanalan. Having thus the information we had hoped to acquire, I made my way towards the entrance and set off the flare to my comrades, letting them know the mission is complete and that we achieved our objective. This information was then taken by our captain, of course, the captain of our unit, and he relayed this information to the Admiral's right-hand man, the commander of the fleet, the militia of Limsa Lominsa, Commander Enzar, to which he asked for me personally and wished for me to deliver the information that we obtained to the Hall of the Flames in Ul'dah, so that we could work with them to form a sort of rescue plan, you could say. So it was there that I did go. Given the urgency, I was flown out to Ul'dah. Which took most of the day to get here to Ul'dah, but I did manage to secure a flight. Sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit here. Did manage to secure a flight to Ul'dah in safety. The Admiral, of course, had already made her way here previously to discuss with the Alliance the matter of the Scion's disappearance. As well as Gaius von Belzar's threats to use this supposed ultimate weapon against the Alliance forces. Upon arriving to my destination, I asked to speak to the acting officer in the Hall of the Flames, which would be Commander Swift. Upon speaking with the commander, he said he would notify the Flame General immediately. My task being done, I thought that it wouldn't be permissive of me to sort of do a little bit of intel gathering in Ul'dah to see if anything was mentioned about the Warrior of Light, also known as the Icon Slayer. So as I went from stall to stall in the marketplace, asking about any gossip or latest tales surrounding the Icon Slayer, something caught my eye. An adventurer who was speaking to his retainer, which had returned from Corthus. The retainer had told this adventurer that the Icon Slayer was working with the Scions and the master engineer of the ironworks, Master Sid Garland. And together they were seeking Sid Garland's lost airship. But their efforts were not going so keenly, for the Ishgardians have long locked out outsiders from seeking anything within their territories without strict permission from the Holy See. So I stopped to question the individual for a moment or two and asked him more about what he knows of the Warrior of Light's efforts and such. If they found the airship and what they were planning to do with said airship. Apparently the scion that they were working with was Alphino Levieur, grandchild to Louis-Soix Levieur. And the reason that they sought the airship was because they were going to confront a primal known as Garuda. The retainer says he does not know whether or not they succeeded, however, as he left quite swiftly after his task was done to return to his master's beck and call. This was rather irksome to me, but I took the information as I did. And so, decided that I would go back and return to Limsa and report to my superiors on what the current situation is. Upon walking more towards the airship landing, however, I bumped into a familiar face. And that face, of course, was none other than the Icon Slayer, alongside Alfino Levieur and Sid Garland of the Ironworks. The Icon Slayer was quite glad to see someone who was still alive at last. He had told me that he had ventured and saw the bodies and gave them a proper rest, to which I gave him my sincerest thanks as well, saying that I would have gone back if I could, but I had a very important task to see to. And also, I had told him of how Menphilia was taken away. To which he replied that they definitely had already found out that Menphilia was taken, as when they returned to the Waking Sands, they rendezvoused with Ida and Y'shtola, who of course were there ahead of time waiting for them, and discussed how they could save and rescue Menphilia and the others. Thus why they have returned from Corthus and Garuda's den, so that they could formulate a plan of rescue. Which a thought occurred to me on how I could be of best use to assist them. And then the idea hit me. Of course, a diversion might do the trick. I told them I would convey my words to Baderon and as well as the Maelstrom Command, and see if we could surmount a diversion of sorts to keep the Imperials occupied while they snuck in to rescue our comrades. They agreed that it was a sound plan indeed. So I decided to send my missive to the Maelstrom, and my task was done via the Moogle mail system. And I traveled with Alfino and the others to Mordona. The plan was to secure a way inside this castra with which Menphilia was said to be taken without alerting the Imperials to our presence. This would not be an easy task, however. While we were searching around, we found a fellow willing to assist us in our efforts. The Warrior of Light and Biggs and Wedge would disguise themselves as foot soldiers and engineers, and they would infiltrate the castrum and start searching for where Minfilia and the others are being held. All the while, myself, along with Ystrola and Ida, would create a diversion of sorts to draw the Imperial's attention away while they swiftly infiltrated to locate the others. Ystrola and Ida infiltrated via the train duct directly from outside of Northern Thanalan. While they did this, I decided to attack the outside forces. There is quite a lot of waves of Imperials, however, marching out to defend the castrum. Wave after wave would keep coming. It seemed as if it was endless. I was beginning to feel slightly overwhelmed by the encompassing forces that would keep coming out wave after wave. But nonetheless, I needed to buy as much time as possible for my comrades to be rescued. So I stood my ground for as long as I could possibly withstand. And then that was when my link shell responder went off. It was Alfino contacting me saying that our allies were secured and located. With that in mind, I quickly used a smoke grenade and made my escape away from the castrum, leaving the rest to the others. It didn't seem, however, as though the Imperials took pursuit after me. Which I could only assume that means, of course, that my allies on the inside sowed enough chaos that they withdrew their forces immediately to support the main host. I had returned to Mordona to gain a bit of rest. And then later, I would return to the Waking Sands, as Alfino had instructed, of course. Orion J. Papalymo and Ida had returned to the Waking Sands. Glad to see that myself, among a few others of the Order, have also returned in safety. According to Orion J, Alfino and Menphilia, along with the Warrior of Light, went on ahead to quiet the Alliance mind about this ultimate weapon which Gaius Van Belzar is threatening to use to bring Eorzea to heel, assuring them that though this weapon may be fearsome, we can outmatch it with the strength of our comrades, and the alliances working together once more, as they did before on the field of Cartano. Sorry about that small interruption, guys. Anyway, as I was saying, having rekindled the flame within the Alliance once more, a new plan was set into motion, a campaign to fight